I always have to regulate before I do these things so I can actually have words in my head. Woo-wee-oo. Wow. No, I don't. Words, words, words. Where are ya? Words are coming in and out, but this attaches very well to what I want to say, or what I have intentions with this channel for it, because by whom. Welcome back to the In-Bri-tween. This is gonna be the introduction that I feel I've been planning, but I also believe that I've been just intuitively allowing to appear in my mind and in myself, which brings me to the story of how I actually decided to have an introduction like this. So a few days ago, I have this routine or ritual. Sounds very serious if I say it that way, but I think it's just, I have this phenomenon that happens for me and to me, which I cultivated, I think, throughout COVID, which is, it doesn't really have a name, I think, but I call it an in-between before you go to sleep, where, if you haven't heard about it, where your conscious and subconscious mind create a bridge in between, and all ideas and thoughts and emotions and everything just freely flows in between. I started cultivating this for subconscious reprogramming and for mindset work and for emotional work through meditations, and to the point now where I don't have to focus on it or have meditation, guided meditation under it, or meditation altogether like music. It just happens. So while I'm trotting towards dreamland on a very nice horse, I have this window, an hour window, because I think it's 1 hour before you completely fall asleep. 1 hour window of just flow of ideas and flow of thoughts and flow of everything that is in there and, you know, within, everywhere within us. And the way that I visualize it is when you on a hike, on a trip in the middle of a forest. I want to say middle of nowhere, but forest is somewhere, and you find this cutesy little bridge that helps you go from one side of the stream to the other side of the stream. And I'm the type of person who likes spending time on the bridge. And what I do within that state is I imagine that little cutesy bridge, and I'm galloping on it without the horse now, and just stand on the bridge and look down into the stream. And I always, you know, when the sun is setting and you have that, is it golden or silver bridge on the water, you know, when the sun goes down and you can see the little sparkly reflections of the sun, I consider them as certain ideas and thoughts reflecting into me or coming to me or blinking at me. And you don't recognize all of them, but maybe the brightest ones. And I just stand there and I'm just being open to whatever comes to my mind, and whichever is the strongest, I receive that and I cognize it. And then when because I'm able to also pull myself out of that in-between state, I just wake up, jot it down on a piece of paper. I have a notebook all the time on my bedside table, and then I can go back to sleep. So this is how it's happened, in a form of a very strong thought came to me saying, you should make a YouTube video stating your intentions with this YouTube video, and that could be your intro. So now you ask, rightfully, that what is my intention with this YouTube video, aka this introduction, is a pre-production. So I would use this space for growth and healing purposes as well, but as a pre-production for my podcast, which I have launched 2 weeks ago, I think. It's the same title, just like the YouTube channel title, so it's In-Bri-tween. You can find it on every platform now. Go listen. I only had an introduction there, and I love it. The fact that people also love it, and I had such a good time recording it and had such a fulfilling moment bringing it into life. Before I dive into all the information, the pre-production of the podcast is usually for me to not brainstorm, it's not the right expression, mind shower or mind map or self map before I bring a script in my head and put it into voice format. But before it happens, before the actual script comes into life, there's a lot of thoughts and emotions and a lot of things are happening beforehand. One of them is, what I realized, is masking, which, if you're familiar with the word, it's a huge phenomenon or response, let's put it response, yeah, not phenomenon, response for people who grew up in an environment that was not safe, especially neurodivergent people, very good at masking, especially women. It can describe other people as well, not just, but because I consider myself neurodivergent female, it's just a conclusion of my experiences. So the masking came very much forefront while I was on my way to dreamland. And I was like, in that state, I was like, oh, that's actually a great idea, because I don't think that there's enough space that is talking about or actually giving any type of guidelines or not guidelines, examples or stories or tools, even, or just guidelines. Yeah, let's call them guidelines about masking. And I thought that it would be very, very helpful to just experience the process together. Now, the boundary that I wanna express here, what I would like to bring here in this virtual space, is not therapy for you. What I want this space to be is a space where we can rewire and rewrite certain experiences, aka, to be exact, how to learn to unmask slowly. And I know it might be very ambitious, but again, I think if we just mentioning things or naming things, I do believe that's the first step towards more in-depth work, more in-depth integration, more in-depth investigation on your journey. Because this is not a therapy room. It cannot be, because I cannot hear you, I cannot see you, I cannot interact with you. So giving advice or telling you what to do was never really my space, or was never really my style anyway. But it's not how it works. That belongs to the therapist room. So yes, all in all, in summary, because I'm waffling now, all in all, I would like this space to be a pre-production for the In-Bri-tween podcast, where we're actually talking about, which I'm also gonna introduce here, liminal spaces. I'll get to that one in a sec. And I also want this to see the messy side of human pattern recognition and human thought patterns, how it flows, how it ebbs and flows, how it just can be messy, and how it can trick you, but also how it can be rewritten or rewired. And also talking about just masking, that how it impacts and telling stories about, and just mentioning little nuggets that might help, that maybe I say something that will change your perspective on something, or you'll feel that little inner light bulb moment of like, oh my god, I didn't know I was missing this, but I was missing this. And I have many moments of those from other creators, from other professionals, from other people who are on a mission to, you know, make this world a better place. And I think it's very important to express in a way, you know, on a level that is safe, that is supported. So yes, so this, again, summary, this space is going to be about unmasking, about embracing our humanness, embracing our self, and owning who we are, and owning how we think, and owning how we feel, and brainstorming about, no, mind showering about the podcast that I just launched 2 weeks ago, which I'm very proud of. And I also gave a little shout out to one of the creators that I followed, I would say for a while now, but no, for since last year. If you'd like to know who he is, spoiler alert, it's a he. Who he is, please go listen to the podcast, and you'll find out. So my podcast, which is also titled the In-Bri-tween, has been at the back burner, and I talk about it, how it came to life. So again, if you would like to find it out, you please go there and listen. But it's about liminal spaces. And if you haven't heard about the term liminal space, the best way that I can describe it is basically, if we're talking about physical world, 3D world of liminal space, the first example that came to my head, and I'm gonna grab my little notes here, the first thing that came into my head when I thought of liminal spaces, it was airports. Probably because I spent a lot of time in airports, because I've been traveling around since I'm 21, I think, yes. And it given me a lot of thoughts about myself. It's a space where I think you have to wait, so you attach to it, but at the same time you don't want to be there because it's so overwhelming when you start traveling for the very first time. So liminal spaces are spaces where you are in that kind of in-between. You left the old space, or you left the comfort of your home. It can be interpreted in many ways. But you also haven't reached your destination where you would like to be. And when I heard this concept, that creator talking about it, I was like, wait a minute. We live our lives and we are being placed in these liminal spaces so many times. And we also sometimes have to put ourselves into these liminal spaces in order to literally get there, get somewhere that we would like, to get to the desired outcome. And we're not talking about this, I think, enough. So these are sort of like, if I have to say it in one sentence, liminal spaces are a space where you transition in order to reach a desired outcome, a desired space, a desired state. And when this whole thing really clicked is that you can not only use it for physical spaces like airports, staircases, elevators, corridors, alleyways, even forests, I think, or highways. You can also use liminal spaces, or they exist in, I do believe, psychology, as transitioning periods of time. Time is irrelevant and relative, and it's not a straight line. But like an interval of state when emotionally or mentally. So for example, there's one thing that I put down. Grief is, I believe, a liminal space, or any emotion, to be fair, when you're integrating them, and because you haven't felt them before, or you haven't acknowledged them that way, or you haven't attuned to them when you were a kid, those become liminal spaces. When you emotionally literate, but you haven't reached the emotional intelligence state, because there's a difference. So emotionally, there are also certain things, there are also certain emotions and emotional states that can be liminal spaces when you learn how to integrate those states within you or embody them. So that is the premise of my podcast. So I collected, and I need a little bit of help here, as well as feedback, or what's the other word? Yeah, help, feedback, for making this podcast as supportive as possible for you. I have loads of ideas, so I think I never run out of ideas. That's not a problem. But I think if I get your help, all of you beautiful souls, listeners and viewers, about what does liminal space mean for you? If you have thought about it. If you haven't thought about it, but now you just started thinking about it, and there are a few things besides my list that I listed that comes into your head, I would love to hear from you. Please tell me, what do you consider liminal space? It can be physical, it can be anything. If you have a good story to tell about those liminal spaces, that would be also more than welcome. So now comes the brainstorming part, and just mapping out. I love when I do that. Refer back. Mapping out that what liminal spaces I am going to talk about in the upcoming episodes. Let's just get a little heads up. It's like a preview for the future, or for the future episodes. So I put down, because I realized that there were so many physical spaces that I didn't realize that they actually liminal spaces. Because for me, it's also something that I knew, I think, in a way, but something that I haven't really connected before. And you also realize that, oh my god, I've been in these spaces, and it feels like you can recall the feeling, that how it made you feel, compared to a feeling of groundedness, a feeling of certainty, or anything like that. So the first one was airports, definitely, because airports are, for me particularly, a way that has been very prominent part or space of my life, weirdly. And then I put down waiting rooms, GPs, hospitals, before interviews and auditions, and I also put down museums as liminal spaces. I'm not sure why, but I put down also the space of beauty, humanness, curiosity of the past, perspectives. And I put down, I'm very proud of this, I put down kitchenette. Do you know those? And I actually had a conversation yesterday, so it was confirmed that I think I'm not too crazy to put this down on the list. I had a conversation about this with someone who said that, oh, I always it's so weird when I'm in this office space and I'm meeting people in this kitchenette that I've never seen before, or I've seen 5 years ago, and we just bump into each other, and then we leave, and then we again never see each other for 3 years. And I was like, oh my god, yeah. And we ended up talking about how a liminal space can bring also people together, but have a really, give you a little bit surreal experience. And I think kitchenettes in big offices, you come from one wing and another person comes from one wing, and sometimes you can question, was it a dream, or did it actually happen? So kitchenette is another thing. And also I put down canteen in schools. And I think the first thing that came to my mind, the reason that I put down canteen, is because you go there to be invisible, but it's the last place that you can be invisible at. So that's also a great thing. And PE halls, for me, PE halls, physical education, halls were so a warehouse, but it's not a warehouse. It's a big space, but you couldn't really do anything with it. So yeah, it was also weird. So PE halls. And then here's where things started to get a little bit more abstract for me, so to speak. Because then I realized that, okay, there are so many spaces, I cannot just jam them into one episode. So I would focus on 3, because 3 is a magic number for our mental space, basically, that doesn't overwhelm us. So I'm always gonna pick 3 spaces, but if my mind goes somewhere, it can. So the next one was, I was thinking nature. And in nature, and this is how I might need your help then. Like, if you think of nature, Mother Nature, outside, going outside, what are some of the liminal spaces that you would list when you go out in nature? You can even experiment and go out and then just test the waters, pun intended, and see that what kind of liminal space. Does it feel like a liminal space? I put down 3 here. Beach, when you watch the sunset and sunrise. Forests, like forest bathing or bathing. And sitting in the rain. So these are the 3 that I came up with. And I would love to know that what are other physical liminal spaces that you have story attached to as well. That would be very good. That is worth mentioning. And for now, I would say I deem this mind mapping, self-mapping, mind showering or brain showering session complete. Again, if you have any more ideas or suggestions or even feedback, I would love to hear from you. Again, this is a space where I wouldn't say try, because we do. This is a space where I really like to just learn to be ourselves. Just learn to accept and own who we are through great conversations, exchange perspectives, and just being very open of how we work and how amazing that we are still different, but we have certain elements very, very similar. And just embrace all that, embrace all the humanness and authenticity that we all have, and we all, I think we should very much own, and we should very much bath in them, and we should very much embrace it and embody it. Because there's one thing that I'm going to close with. We are here to embody our worth and not to prove it. And I think that's the great note to end on, because that's what this space is for. So thank you so much for watching, and I'm looking forward to hearing all of your suggestions. And I shall see you very, very soon. Okay. Bye! Oh, look at that. She has a lot of experience now. I do have a lot of experience now. Oh, just as I sat down. I mean, it's very quiet out there, but I just realized that I didn't close the windows. That's fine. Well, my luck would be that it would be very loud in like 5 seconds. I know, watch out. Okay. So many things that I need to close that window because it's just gonna bother me. Airplane. And as soon as I stood up, there was an airplane coming. I need to warm up to this. Ooh, the sun just came out. Shining brightly. La La Land came into my head because there's a song, "You never shine so bright," or something like that.